Bowl in Orlando, Florida. Troy and UTSA. It's actually one of the better early bowl games in terms of the matchup. A high-flying offense and an excellent defense going head-to-head here. Great matchup. We've got UTSA rather, 1.5-point favorites in this game, 55 being the total here in this one. It's a really interesting matchup when you look at it. UTSA coming off the Conference USA Championship, Troy coming off the Sun Belt Championship, both of them winning their conference title games. Should be enthusiastic about playing in the bowl game. I don't think motivation is going to be a big concern for either of these teams when you look at it because they're coming off conference championship games. As far as UTSA is concerned, under Jeff Traylor, we saw them in their bowl game last year against San Diego State, come up short, losing by a score of 38-24 in that game. So even though they were excited, and I remember I thought UTSA excited to be here, but they couldn't match up with San Diego State in that game. They end up losing their bowl game. For Troy, it is a squad that obviously had some tough times under Chip Lindsey. They didn't even qualify Troy for a bowl game each of the last 2 seasons, Connor. You've got to believe they're fired up to be bowling again. So, I would think motivation is not so much the concern or the factor. There's going to be games where there's a huge motivational edge and we really care about being in this game and we are excited to be here. There's going to be various games where there's a major edge for one team over the other in that motivational category. I don't think we're going to have that here. I think both teams are going to be into this, excited to play. When I look at this matchup too, I'm interested in just taking the points with the better defense. I always am. Again, this is a good matchup to look at as well, how these teams played in terms of non-conference football. I think that's very important. Get a gauge of where they tested, outside of their own conference. And when you look at UTSA, you played Houston, you played Texas. That's not bad in terms of quality non-conference opponents early in the season. Troy had their share of pretty solid opponents early in the year. They had to start the year playing Ole Miss out of the SEC. So both of these teams have played pretty good Power 5 teams when you look at it. Texas is the highlight tough team that UTSA played, and Ole Miss is probably the highlight team that Troy played as well. So really tough game. This is a great game to watch. You've got Frank Harris and that outstanding offense of UTSA going up against the strength of Troy, which all year was that defense. And the thing with Troy as well that I want to point out with their defense is they were in particular an awesome run defense. They were a little bit, not a huge amount, but they were a little bit more vulnerable in the passing game. And that's significant because UTSA has become a pass-heavy offense this year because they lost Sincere McCormick. Frank Harris got better as a passing quarterback, and their strength was in the receiving core and the passing game. And so they became a very pass-heavy offense here. So, my initial lean, believe it or not, is over the total. 55.5. I think UTSA's pass-heavy offense, if there's a slight weakness in Troy's defense, they are slightly weaker in terms of defending the pass compared to defending the run. That's not optimal going up against the Roadrunners. And on the flip side, I think Troy's offense, some of that maybe was Coastal Carolina. It was just horrendous defensively in the Sun Belt title game. But Troy's offense looked like they got themselves going quite a bit. And UTSA will give up yards. And Gunnar Watson finally, threw the football with a great deal of success. It's not very much of a passing game we trust, but he had 318 yards through the air against Coastal Carolina. We know they've got Vidal to run the football, keep them balanced, and UTSA's defense, I think, might have some trouble with that. So the way you look at it, this could be a high total for a Troy game. It's also, to me, more importantly, a very low total for a UTSA game with how explosive they can be. And don't forget, extra time to get ready for this bowl game. Don't put it past the coaches to have some tricks and wrinkles in the playbook offensively for either of these sides. So right now I'm looking toward the over. I think the side is very tough for me to take either of these teams because I think they're both good and I think they're both showing up to play here. What do you think here, Conor? Cure Bowl.
Yeah, this game I think should be a pretty good one. Both teams took care of business. Troy just stepped all over. The 31-0 in that game. It seemed so quick. It was just over, and it was. And shout out to UTSA for getting it done. Austin Aune interceptions, we talked about it, bit him in the ass for
Big
the old
time.
man there. Yeah. So that got it done for UTSA. You know what I saw down the stretch, though? This total's interesting. And a lot of these bowl games, I'm going to wait a little bit. I know we're doing the show now, but on totals, I want to get a little bit more of a feel. Obviously, I like Troy unders. Their offenses come alive. They played some real shitty teams down the stretch, but they've gotten it done. I thought UTSA's defense has looked a little bit better as the year's gone on, against bad teams as well. So this total, I think, could go either way. I mean, initially when I see this, I lean under with a Troy game, but I'll wait on it a little bit. And I lean Troy a little bit just because of the better defense in the end. The X factors to me on the UTSA side is Harris. The guy's just phenomenal, great quarterback, put a team on his back and lead a drive. So I think this game's close. So I'd want the points if I had to be on a side here.